Severe and Benning in the morning on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and the 1620 The Zone app. Here are Michael Severe and Damon Benning.
Do you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Tell your chicken. Eating up all the food.
Deep fried chicken.
We'll do it live.
On the chicken sandwich.
It's cooking, it's cooking. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Okay. No, we'll do it live.
If it was a food show.
I'm going to give you two choices, Damon Benning. If it was a food show, brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery, specially bread products. Go to the website, rotellasbakery.com. It is a family tradition since 1921. The third choice would be where our good friend Mike Schaefer ate last night. But this choice is bacon queso fries from Dairy Queen or the brand new pickle corn dog from Disneyland. By the way, the pickle corn dog comes with a side. It comes with a side of peanut butter.
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't get.
It must be some kind of unique taste or something,
Right.
you know. But or we could have done what Mike Schaefer did last night, who covers the Huskers and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. He went to the best steak place in the city of Omaha. Was it a special night or anything for you guys?
No, so Shelby and I have like a running bet based on like this golf pool that we're in, and I won it in 2019, so we went to the Drover, and then she won it for 2020, and so she picked Mahogany.
Nice.
So that's how we ended up there. It was fantastic. I would recommend it to anybody. You know, part of the enjoyment was we haven't had a night where like we went out for like a nice dinner in more than a year, and so I mean, that was in itself just kind of enjoyable. The service there was fantastic. And then, of course, this steak is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do any of the sides?
Cream spinach?
No.
It's good, man.
So we did a baked potato, which is roughly the size of a football.
Yeah.
And then mac and cheese as well, which was pretty good.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
And the service, too, adds to it, right? The fact that you have this person who's a professional server, making sure you have everything you need, making sure the table's clean around you, that's kind of cool, too. Adds to the ambiance.
Yeah, and there was,
The who?
you know, I don't know if this is what they always do or if there was like a training thing going on, but we had like two different people.
Oh.
So we were like covered all the time. And then there was someone just walking by to make sure that our water was never lower.
That's how it is, man.
I mean,
that's how it always is.
It was great. I haven't had an experience like that in a long time, and like I said, the food was fantastic, and so I would recommend it to anybody. It's obviously a little pricey, but
yes.
You get incredible quality for what you pay for.
No doubt.
So are you and Severe feeling a little closer to being friends now that he has a future on the Cleveland Indians as a playoff team and the Chicago White Sox as a non-participant in the playoffs?
Well, I think the White Sox are going to be sort of the team that everyone picked that doesn't work out this year. I don't believe that 89-year-old Tony La Russa is going to mesh really well with that team. And it strikes me that when it goes bad, it's going to go really bad. And they already lost Eloy Jimenez, before the season even started. And so that's a bit of a blow for a team that isn't super deep. But I don't know that I would put any money on the Cleveland Indians to make the playoffs either. I mean, I think that they're going to be like a mid-'80s winning team.
Right.
And maybe that's enough. And
Yeah.
the AL Central could be kind of bad this year.
Well, they're playing softball in Kansas City, so they'll be able to score, but I don't know if they'll get anybody out. And I do kind of like the Tigers, but I still think they're at least a year or two away from being really competitive. But they're not going to be a pushover by any means either.
Yeah, I think the Tigers and the Royals bring that division up to where, I mean, you could have three teams in the 80s and wins, and then whichever one, comes out of that is who's going to represent them and get swept in the first round of the playoffs. I don't see any great team in that division. They all have kind of their own holes. I mean, Cleveland is pretty well versed. They don't have any hitting, as displayed by getting blanked by Matthew Boyd for most of yesterday, who had the worst ERA in the league in the shortened 2020 season.
White Sox, by the way, were plus 205, did not make the playoffs. The Indians were plus 240 to make the
I should
playoffs.
have jumped on that.
Yeah,
I should follow you on that because I've been pretty strong on this. I don't think the White Sox are going to make it.
That's a possibility.
Well, how strong are you on me and Mr. Jones, right? It didn't come out of nowhere for Nebraska. It maybe came out of nowhere for some of the guys that in your profession. That had been one in the making for a while, huh?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I didn't get a chance to talk with him last night, but I'm hoping to catch up with him this weekend. But I know that just from reading our coverage and reading other coverage, that this is something that he had been considering for a little while. Obviously, he knew the staff for a long time since he knew them when they were at UCF. He's from Orlando. It's someone that you have to assume that Nebraska feels pretty comfortable with and their connections to the high school area down there in Orlando. And so really good athlete that is 6'2" and could be a vertical threat for Nebraska. I mean, he strikes me. I saw this comparison made on our message board a little bit. The way that this commitment came about, it felt similar to Sean Hardy last year, who not a lot of people knew of when he had committed. And then, you continue to watch the film, you learn more about him, and then you kind of figure out a little bit who he is and why Nebraska was as interested as they were. And so, by all accounts, good kid, good athlete, and someone that it would make sense why Nebraska would have the interest that they do. The follow-up for me is, does Nebraska take 2 more wide receivers, or do they only have 1 more spot left in this class? Because they've spent a lot of capital on pass catchers in the last few classes, and this one being likely to be a little bit smaller. I don't know if they take 3 receivers in this class, so then that makes it kind of interesting, how they move forward filling things out.
Depends on what happens with a couple of those guys like Houston and them, right? If they actually hang around after spring.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. But they have a lot of bodies. I mean, they just have accumulated a lot of people in that position. And even if Jamie Nance and Demarion Houston don't amount to breaking through and moving past some of those other guys, I don't know that you need more than 2 receivers in this class. I mean, you'd only be set to losing Toure, and then you still have a pretty healthy group coming back. Now, obviously, a lot of things can happen, and they certainly tend to.
Well, Omar Manning going to the league too. Don't forget. So take that one off the list.
Well, let's see Omar Manning go to Illinois first before we put him in the NFL. So let's just see how that plays out. But there's a lot of excitement again about him. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that want to take the wait and see approach, but I know the players over there have been raving about how he looks and how he acts and how he works out. And so we'll see if it manifests itself in 2021 in a way that it did not in 2020.
If nothing else, and I mean, I'm wholeheartedly serious about this, if Nebraska's ability to be patient and kind of work with him on some other things mean anything to Manning in terms of value, he's got to be all in from a trust standpoint. I mean, they were pretty patient.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's 2 conversations here, right? Like, there's the value that Nebraska didn't receive from a guy that they had hoped would be an instant contributor to their team, which is unfortunate. But then there's also the fact that they are fully committed to him, which tells you that they believe in his talent, but they believe in him as a person, which is what you ultimately want from a coaching staff, too. I know that doesn't win you games, and it's not a super sexy headline, but you want a coaching staff that doesn't just cast somebody aside when they have issues that they're going through. And if they get the buy-in from Omar Manning and he turns out to be the player that they had hoped for, then everything was worth it in the end.
You had a chance on Recruiting Hour to talk with Ernest Hausman, right? Did you guys have him on?
Yeah, we had him on yesterday.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway. He seems like a really grounded kid just reading some of the stuff he said, but chatting with him like you got a chance to do, what was your takeaway from him?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a really kind of smart kid, and the conversations that we were having were pretty interesting to me in the sense that I asked if he had considered playing offense at all, and he said that no team really was looking at him on offense because he was sort of focused the conversation on defense. He wants to be a defensive player. He doesn't care really where he lines up because he's had the versatility of playing in the secondary before. He's played in the second level now at the high school or at Columbus High for a couple of years. If he grows to be a defensive lineman, he'd welcome that challenge. He just struck me as someone who's very open to whatever is next and doesn't want to be pigeonholed as any one thing. Not because he couldn't do it, but because he doesn't, he's already seen so much versatility in his own football career that he doesn't strike me that he thinks that he's going to be just one position or just one type of player. And so I thought that was pretty deep for a high school kid, to be honest. And he's just a really confident guy. I mean, he made it pretty clear that, he respects how everyone else looks and views at Nebraska football right now, but he sees a place where he's going to have an opportunity, and he sees a staff that he believes in, and he thinks that things are going to be better, and he wants to be a part of that. And he views it as an opportunity to go to Nebraska and be a part of the solution and not continuing to talk about the problems. And again, like, he's just a headier 17-year-old kid. Not every kid looks at it like that. And, for someone to basically be upfront saying that as the first commitment in the class, I think is going to be pretty helpful when you get into the peer recruiting. I think he's going to be a valuable guy for Nebraska in June when they have James Mons and Popeye Williams and some of these other defensive players that are expected to come in.
Yeah, I was going to say, growing up in a village can do that for you as a young kid or experiencing what he went through. But, Shafe, what's a realistic target, you think, for visits for that spring game? I mean, that's always kind of what the fan base will pay attention to and see who's comings and going. What do you think's realistic?
I have a really tough time imagining there's going to be that many people that come to this game on their own dime. They can't spend any time around the coaching staff. I mean, we know Reese Mooney wants to do it. Ernest Hausman wants to do it. Mm-hmm. There's a linebacker from Oklahoma, Chris McClellan. He just picked up an offer from Ohio State. He wants, I think I said linebacker. He might be a defensive lineman. I have to check. He has talked about potentially doing it. I think it sounds more possible than what it actually will be. And frankly, if you just wait an additional month as it is anyways, then you can do everything. You can get the full car wash experience. You can spend time around the coaching staff. Yes, you're not, the thing you get out of it is you're going to be in the stadium. And so you get that atmosphere of it. But I just don't know that I anticipate that we're talking anything more than low double digits of kids willing to do that. And a plethora of them, I would imagine, are going to be local in-state guys who might be going to that game whether they were a recruit or not.
Hey, last thing, what'd you think about Greg Austin talking about more finishing those plays in practice so they can maybe in the game have some more explosive plays because of the way their line blocks?
I mean, every time Greg Austin talks, I like it. I mean, I like him a lot. I have a lot of respect for what he does. I mean, I think that he says the right things often as it relates to what I want to see out of Nebraska's offense. But ultimately, it just comes down to people want to see it. And I know that's a really annoying answer, and it's not one that's super helpful in a spring in which there's the spring game and then there's nothing until they play Illinois. But if it took 3 years for Nebraska to figure out what they want to be on offense and how they want to finish off practice sessions and individual work in practices, and it leads to a more physically dominant offense or a more downhill running game, then it's worth it. But again, until we see it, we went through this last spring. Nebraska talked about the emphasis that it was going to have in the running game, and then they got to the regular season, and it wasn't there. And so, I'm really couching how I react and how I feel about some of the comments that are going to come out this spring, because I until they can prove it in games, it's hard to get real lathered up about it.
Mike Schaefer, we appreciate it, sir. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Hey, Shafe.
Enjoy Easter and your family.
Shafe, you too. If you hit a home run, do you think you would know how to run the bases?
Oh, man. No, I'd be so surprised if the ball left the yard. Plus, if I hit a home run now, it's softball, so you're not even having to run the bases. So maybe to speed the game up, maybe to speed the game of baseball up, they can just eliminate people running the bases after a home run.
That's the best thing they ever added to softball, in my opinion.
Right, get that memo over to Justin Turner.
I love that.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Shay.
Thanks, Shay.
You'll be okay, Damon. They'll win another 102 games.
Mike Shea
It was
24/7
Marquez, man.
Sports.
Marquez.
Coming up.
So in softball, they just run over to the dugout. Is that?
You don't have some leagues. You don't think once you hit the home run, it's it. They just go like this, and that's it.
That's it. And then they just walk
Some
off.
softball leagues is an out.
Some you touch first, some you just go back.
So you just go back. You're done. You're
That
good.
sounds-
Good to go.
It's pretty good.
We had this one guy who hit when I was softball league, and I know Damon had guys like this, where just every time it was a home run. So like you didn't even it wasn't even a thought about it. Every one, you knew he was gonna hit it out.
So you want to speed the game up by doing that? I mean,
we were just joking just now. But it was great to happen in softball. I didn't think it was necessary. You knew this dude every time. It was our guy worked with in Kroger. You knew he was going to home run. Like, why even?
I'd say because like in Major League Baseball, isn't that like when they hit the home run and they run around the base? Isn't that the time where the crowd's gonna, if there's a crowd,
They celebrate,
they're celebrating that they should be the happiest and it's going to be the loudest. So I don't know why you'd want to cut that out of that, but obviously you're just joking. So
he's being really serious today.
Dead serious.
I mean, for like you because of what happened to them yesterday, but like as a new rule in the game, no.
Yeah,
I am for eliminating the onside kick.
So Bellinger hit a home run for the Dodgers.
Okay.
Justin Turner was on base. He did not know it was a home run, so he went back
to first base,
and he overran Bellinger, so he was called out. So they didn't get the benefit of a 2-run homer.
He thought the guy caught
shot.
the ball.
Yeah.
He thought he caught the ball,
and it was an out.
Yeah,
and
he thought he caught the ball.
So they, instead of being up 2-0, they trailed the entire game.
So who's that on? Guy on first base?
Son,
Justin
Turner.
Turner, yeah.
Is he the first base coach or whatever?
No, he was the guy. He plays for the Dodgers that went back and crossed Bellinger.
Like he's one of those guys that's really hard playing guy.
Yeah.
So he took off running with his head down.
He's a good
He
player.
just running real hard and looked up and thought the guy caught the ball.
I guess.
Turned around. I'm sure people were yelling, "Run!" Like when you go to Little League, "Run! No, run!"
So I've been joking about that all morning. You're probably like, "What in the world is this guy talking
No, we
about?"
play. I gave him the clip to play. He played it earlier.
But that doesn't mean that he's.
You
like,
think he listened to the clip?
Yeah, he just plays the clips. You know how many clips he gets?
You heard the clip, right?
I heard the clip, but it didn't.
You know
I
what
mean,
you're
it
talking
wasn't. I didn't watch that.
See, I'm looking out for you, Shane.
It'd be more. You'd know the clip better. If
What
you
does
saw
the clip
highlight.
say?
I don't remember. That was an hour ago.
What does the clip say?
I don't remember.
Does it say Bellinger?
Yeah, it said
Home
Bellinger.
run,
debacle.
and then it says base running mistake.
But no. Let me read.
Isn't that what it says?
Let me read what it says.
Okay, tell me what it says.
Let me read what you typed.
Tell me what.
Why are you on my man Shane? You know he's not playing today.
You typed in there Bellinger home run, the best home run that I ever seen.
I
'cause
put
there
Bellinger
was so
home run,
much
but confusion on bases.
And it was the worst base running job ever in the history of the performance of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I put Bellinger homer, but confusion on bases. Matt Verzal next with his liver just in a jar when we come back.